Hello box setters, welcome to Bears Craft Along Instructions video. This is for all the bears, so black bears, brown bears, panda bears, and what else we got? Koala bears, and the one that I'll be using today is the polar bear. So you can see the craft pack there that you would have downloaded. There it all is, along with one I prepared earlier. You also get a black and white one to colour in yourself. Just showing off the little polar bear there, his feet and his paws, and the back of his head and his little fluffy tail there. What a cute little polar bear. Okay, so let's go through how we cut and fold and stick him together. We've got a trusty pair of scissors there and some tape for later on. And we're going to start by cutting out what we're going for. We're going for the head here first. And so there's no particular order that you need to cut this out in. Just try and keep your scissors nice and straight and move that paper around the scissors. So keep the scissors sort of straight out in front of you, whether you cut with your right hand or your left hand, and try and move the paper with your non-cutting hand. So as you can see, I'm right-handed, so all the moving is being done with my left hand. And try and keep a nice clean area. You can see I'm using just my kitchen table, really, or use any flat surface. Get yourself nice and comfortable, and all your materials together, and just keep those cuts nice and smooth. Try not to bring your scissors together at the end, because that'll pucker the paper. You'll get a little sort of bump in it. But take your time and see how you move the paper, especially when it comes to those curves. Move it around the curves and sort of gently squeeze your scissors together. Now you can see we're cutting around the edge for the paws there, and getting into those nooks and crannies there. And then rather than continuing your cut or trying to twist your hands around, sort of move it around the cut line. And once you've got a bit of paper or a bit of card that you don't need, just push it to one side. So you would have downloaded these from my website, www.boxedspapercrafts.com. You would have downloaded them from there, or you might have picked them up from a market that I was at in Melbourne, Australia. And then you download, you print them off, and then you can craft along to this video. And there's no, like I said, there's no order to cut these things out in, but if you craft along, then you shouldn't miss anything at all, and you should have yourself, by the end of all of this, a beautiful little bear. Like I said at the beginning, I'm doing a polar bear, but these instructions go along for all the other bears in the series. Back to the bigger sheet of paper there, and we're cutting out the other arm along with the head as well. Move it around the top there. Now you don't have to twist it all the way around. You can take the scissors out from the paper and go from the edge again. Cut those nice. Take your time with this to cut some nice smooth straight lines. Any paper off to the side in a pile, and let's cut out along the other paw, the other hand. Do bears have hands? I'm not too sure. Have already all paws. They've got sort of paws on the end of the legs, but then they use the legs to walk on as well as the hands to walk on. I don't know. Throw a comment in there if you know exactly whether a pet polar bear or any bear has hands and feet, or just hands and paws. Sorry. Continuing with cutting out the ears. We've got two ears there now, and that's both the front and back of the ears. They'll make more sense as we get into the craft along video. and we'll take our time to cut along with this second paw, I'll call it. The paws and the arms are very easy to sort of make out. You'll see when we cut the body out, the feet, the polar bear's feet or the bear's feet are very different from the arms, because the arms have those fingers on and a thumb, and the feet don't. So look, it's not meant to be a completely accurate polar bear. Polar bears aren't blue unless they're really, really cold, I guess. It's a cartoon polar bear. They're cartoon bears. Anyway, there we go. We're taking it. Take your time with this. Sort of the cutting out part takes about 20 minutes or so. And yeah, feel free to pause this video if you sort of find you're taking a little bit more time, or if you're getting through it quickly, then yeah, you're more than welcome to fast forward the video and get to the bit that you're up to. So there we go, just moving our cut bits into a nice neat pile, and any scrap bits over to the side. And you can see as we're cutting along those sort of dotted lines as well. We'll get to those once we've cut everything out. Cutting around some tabs. So the tabs are sort of those rounded rectangle bits, mainly on the all on the edge of our bear and any paper toy that you might get from my website. And those tabs sort of fold in and tuck inside and help to keep our any of the parts of the bear all together, and tucking nicely and help with sort of creating a solid looking character. There we go. Me waffling on there has got us to the end of cutting the bear's head out. So I'll put the head up there along with the arms on one side, and there you can see we've got our different bits for the body. Go straight into cutting that. We've got our 2 feet paws. You can see they are quite different there. They've just got those paw pads at the bottom, so we know they're for the bear to stand on. The body is the exact same sort of like shape and pattern as the head is. So take your time to move those scissors. Well, yeah, like I said, we're not moving the scissors. The only thing we're doing with the scissors is sort of gently pressing down, and it's our opposite hand, our non-cutting hand, that's doing most of the work really. If you can stick with that, if you can keep sort of like the only moving is done by the non-cutting hand, then you'll get some really nice clean, excuse me, some really nice clean cut lines, and that'll help make a really nice character at the end with no jagged bits or cuts. Sort of just take your time to move that along, and then move the paper around the scissors. Yeah, if you pick one of these bear crafts up at a market, then they come in what's called 200 GSM paper, and that's just the sort of the weight of the paper. It's twice as heavy as standard photocopy paper, so you get your paper crafts are a bit more sturdy. But if you've downloaded this and printed it at home, by all means print it on whatever paper you've got. Whether it's just standard copy paper, which is about 90 GSM. These paper crafts will work just fine off there. But if you've got some sort of like, if you've got some slightly heavier paper, I wouldn't recommend going more than 200 GSM. That becomes sort of like quite cardy and quite thick to cut through and to fold. Yeah, I would recommend about sort of anywhere between sort of 150 and 200 GSM for your paper. But like I say, standard paper will do just fine as well. Okay, so rubbish off to the side, bits that we want to keep and fold up at the top there in a nice neat pile, and we've got an extra little bit on this one, which is its tail. So we'll cut that off, and we'll get that sorted straight away. Just trim off those little white edges there. It can be a little bit tricky just to sort of move the paper around the scissors. But get it, try and tidy as you go. Clear your crafting area of any little scraps of paper and bits of rubbish. Now I'm using quite big scissors because I've got quite big hands, but make sure that sort of the scissors that you're using feel comfortable in your hand. You don't have to use big scissors like mine. The most important thing is that they feel comfortable, and you can get a nice smooth, steady pressure with your hands. And don't worry if you think, oh, I'm no good at cutting. I'm no good at cutting straight lines and curves and this, that, and the other. Well, this is how you get good at doing those things. This is how you get that sort of, it's called a fine motor skill, is by practicing and by cutting these out. If you have downloaded these off my website, you can print off as many as you like to use for yourself and for your friends, so you can make a whole army of bears. If you've got a lot of bears, there's a proper name for that. So again, drop a comment in the comments. Let me know down there what's the proper name for a group of bears. It's called a collective noun, is the term, I think. What is the proper collective noun term for bears? No prizes, it's just sort of, for everyone's benefit and knowledge. I could Google it, but what's the fun in that? Okay, we're nearly done with cutting actually. We've just got one more arm to do. No, one more foot to do. Sorry, this is his foot. And just round those tabs there. This is making sort of, it's not the foot that we're cutting out, doesn't actually fold up into a square or a rectangular 3D shape, a cuboid, I think it's called. It's sort of, you can see there on that's the side that we're cutting there. It's more of a trapezium shape, I think they call it. So that's a four-sided shape, but where I think each of the sides of the shape are different in length. That's a trapezium. If it's not, then again, put some comments in along with the video and let me know, and we can all benefit from your wisdom. There we go, nearly finished with the cutting, just nice and gently round, moving the paper around the scissors, and there we go. That's pretty much all the cutting that we need to do. Let's get on to the folding. Now the folding, you can sort of just about make out those sort of dotted lines there, and rather than it being sort of like a real tight fold, it's more of a bend in a way. You're bending the paper around those dotted lines. You can see I'm just sort of lining up the fold. I've got my fingers at the back, sort of along the dotted line at the back where it is. I suppose I'm maybe racing through these folds, but it's because I'm so used to folding it. But you take as much time as you want with these folds, with lining them up and then just pinching and pressing along the dotted lines. So you can see we're nearly done with our first barefoot. Just open everything that we folded up a little bit and see how those tabs sort of like tuck in and help to sort of like hold that shape and fill in any gaps. Just putting it together so you get an idea of the shape there. We'll leave him down there later on and we'll get that a nice tight sort of trapezium cuboid box shape as we stick it together later on. We'll do our other paw, our other foot, and you can skip through this part of the video if you're sort of quite comfortable and confident with it, or pause it anywhere along if you find that you're not quite keeping up to speed. There's no, it's not a competition, it's not a rush. It's all about sort of taking your time and getting the best paper craft bear that you can make. And there we go, just squeezing and pinching together the those creases and folds, and there, putting it together, pushing those tabs onto the inside, and you can see we'll get a nice foot from there. Now with the tail, it's very similar to the ears. We've got a fold right down the middle, and if we bend it right round the middle there, you can see we've now got a front and a back, and then we've got a little tab that's got a fold line on each side, so we just need to fold it over, and there's our little tail for sticking to the bear's bottom later on. And here we have the body, and yep, there we go. You can see we've got some fold lines in there. They're sort of a little bit camouflaged, a little bit tricky to spot, but you can just about make it out. It's probably better in real life. You'll be able to see them. But yeah, nice and up close there. You can see we've got some fold lines and a tab there right at the top. Say right at the top, that's actually going to turn into where we stick the tail, like I say, the bear's bottom. And we're just moving slowly down. These ones are slightly bigger folds, but again, just take your time to sort of bend the paper around those dotted lines, and then pinch it together when you feel comfortable and confident that you've got the crease in the right place. Okay, we're just folding around now. Sort of if you find that sort of like bits of it are getting in the way, like that side there to fold that those tabs in, then just make the fold that you need to get that bit of paper out the way, if you know what I mean. So I've left those sort of middle tabs, but now that I've folded that away, you can see it's a lot easier to fold these bits here. That's actually going to be where the neck, the bear's neck. And here's the side of the bear and the sort of like the bottom side of the bear. It'll all make sense sort of once everything's folded, and sort of those folds naturally bring the different parts of the box together. Then we have the other side. This is quite a long one, so take a little bit of extra time to make sure you've got that crease nicely all along the dotted line. And there's the other sort of, that slightly bluer bit is where the bear's head will attach to his body. And like I said before when I was cutting out, the bear's body is the exact same shape, the same pattern as the head. So if you've got the head pretty good, you can see that sort of comes together there. It'll match up completely once we start sticking it together, but that just gives you an idea of what sort of shape you'll have for the bear's body. So I'll pop that to one side along with his feet, and we'll get folding the bear's head. Again, you can see sort of those fold lines are a little bit camouflaged, but yeah, just take your time and make sure that you find each and every one. There's no rush for this. Just bend the paper, the card, around the dotted line, and then when you're happy with it, then pinch it together. There's no need for sort of like, once you've made the fold, there's no need to get it nice and sharp. Some people I know might want to sort of like run the fingernail down the fold and get a nice sharp crease. You can do that, but it's not necessary. You can do something called scoring as well. Scoring is where you sort of you get yourself a craft knife and a ruler, and you line the ruler up with the dotted line, and then you just put a nice gentle sort of groove or score into the dotted line, and that'll help to fold the paper over. You can do that, but that'll take a little bit more time. Yeah, folding the paper toy like this is just as gives you just as nice a character, I think. But by all means, if you want to take the extra time to score your paper toy, then you can do that. And I'll probably do a video of another character where I show you how you can make some score lines. But like I say, it involves a craft knife, which if you're not too comfortable or confident with it, then don't worry, just leave it alone. Okay, into the home stretch, we're doing our paws, our bear's arm paws. Call them arm paws. Forearms. Forearms? Anyway, you can see those are going to be sticking to the side of our bear at the end, once we come to doing that. Just folding those tabs over, and there's the side of the forearm. Other side of the forearm where we've got a thumb. Now those thumbs will come in. We need to take a bit of time making sure we've got the right arm on the right side. The thumbs should be facing out when we come to stick it onto our bear. So just keep that in mind. We'll make sure it's all sorted later on. But there you can see, just like our bear's feet, the arms are a very similar pattern, exact same shape around the outside. So we've got plenty of practice of folding these arms and legs and paws together. I suppose as you're going through, you might want to cut and then fold and then stick each little bit together. Again, that's entirely up to you, but yeah, if you craft along, at least you know sort of like you're going to have all your bits cut, and then all your bits folded, and then all your bits stuck together. It's just a nice sort of simple order to do things in. We're making the last folds on our final arm, our final paw. Again, take your time with these folds, open them all up a little bit, and then as you're making the shape, they'll all come together and tuck in. So we've got a nice, that one's going to be the bear's left paw. I can tell it's the left paw by the position of the thumb. I'll show you that later when we're sticking it together. Here's the bear's ears, and pretty much the same shape as the tail. Certainly the same fold areas there. You can see that folds in half, so we get a front and a back to our ear. And then I'm just bending a little tab around the back there. You can see there's the back of the ear. And just creating a little hinge so that ear can sort of be moved and positioned wherever you like, in a way. Same with the second one. Put that fold down the middle, and then we can see that those fold lines are sort of like match up front and back. And now we're creating our little tab, so our bear's ear has a bit of a hinge. And we'll see how that works later on when we come to sticking it to the head. Now, when it comes to sticking, I love a tape dispenser. It's got a little serrated edge there that we can cut the tape off as we're going along. It frees up, it saves a little bit of time. So if you can, grab yourself one of these tape dispensers. They're so handy. You can sort of keep your paper toy sort of neatly together in one hand. You can see I'm just going back and I'm trimming off a little bit of tape there because it's just sticking out a little bit. This will sort of just help to keep our paper toy character nice and trim and nice and neat, and move away any of those extra bits that we've cut off. But there's one of the ears done, and we're going to stick together our bear's second ear. So line everything up. You can see you might get a little bit of sort of like whiteness around the edges, so you can trim that off if you want to. You don't necessarily have to, but again, it makes for a nicer, smoother bear. And then we stick a bit of tape on one side, and then we fold it round and bend it round to the back, so that our bear's ear has a front and a back. It's not sort of flapping around. There's the ears. Keep those to one side. Keep them away from the folded pile, and then we know that we've stuck those together. And then you can see I've tucked the tab comes in really useful. You can hold onto the paper toy with that sort of whichever hand you feel comfortable with, but that'll keep it together. And then what I'm showing you there is that sort of like I stick the tape to one side, then I can line it up and judge where it's going, and then fold it onto the sticky side onto the other side to hold it together. It's kind of difficult to put into words what I'm doing, but yeah, just take your time and sort of like follow along, follow the pictures, not just my voice, not just the commentary. There we go, we've got both sides there, and now we just need to tuck in those tabs and push together, push down the sort of the lid of the foot in a way. Make sure everything's sort of like lined up nicely. Stick half the tape down, line everything up, and then bend it round onto the fingers. And there's our first arm paw. That's the right arm, and we can tell that by the thumb. So again, we've got the other arm to sort of bend and pinch together. You can see just about see the tab on the inside there that sort of helps us to keep the arm together while we put the tape on. Now we can sort of like pull it away and make sure that we line it up with those dotted lines. So those dotted lines don't just help us for folding the paper toy, but also for sticking it together as well. It helps us to line up those edges. The edges are pretty much always lined up with a dotted line. So stick it to one half, bend it round, then smooth that tape out. And then we come to tucking the lid around where the fingers are, sort of the knuckles of the bear there. That's where I've stuck it there. Make sure it lines up with the fingers. And there's our bear's left arm paw. Whoops. Got both left and right. See how those the arms are different, and they're only different by the position of the thumb. And I'll show you exactly how that goes together when we stick them to the body. Okay, so again, we're taking our time and tucking in that tab on the inside, lining it up with the dotted line, and then just sticking together. Well, that's going to be the neck of the bear. Don't try and rush through and keep up with me. Pause the video if you want to take a bit more time to stick this together. And again, like I say, if you feel like sort of like, oh, I can't do this, I've not got the patience for it, actually doing something like this is where you make that patience. It's where you sort of like you get better. The more you do something, the better you get at it. So take your time, pause the video. If you're getting frustrated with it, pause the video and come back to it later. And by later, it can be 5 minutes later, or it can be the next day later as well. Yeah, putting together a paper toy, it normally takes about an hour. But you don't have to have that hour all in one go. You can break that up as it suits you. Okay, we're moving along with sort of the belly of the bear is what I'm sticking together here at the moment. So tucking those tabs in, lining that dotted line up with the opposite edge, sticking a bit of tape to it, and then folding it over until I get to the bear's bottom, and that final tab, tucking it in. And that tape dispenser is really handy. We can hold the we don't have to put the paper toy down to sort of find the end of the tape and peel that off and cut a bit of tape off, and doing that each time. I really recommend spending a little bit of cash on a tape dispenser. Okay, so here's our arms. So you can see we need the thumbs facing forward, as I've just shown you there. But what we'll do before that is we'll put together the feet, the bear's feet. Very similar to the arms, the exact same outline pattern, sort of box pattern as the arms, the paw arms, and the feet arms. No, the feet paws and the arm paws. Okay. There we go, and we're just sort of folding that in, tucking in that last one, popping the tape on there, lining it up again, and then when we feel happy and comfortable, just bending that tape round so it all holds together. And we'll do the other foot before we stick those things to the body. A little bit of tape. You can keep that on one finger and push that around. Try not to use sort of like huge amounts of tape. Try and keep it sort of like one bit of tape per, I don't know what the right term for it is, but one bit of tape for each edge, I guess. So just one bit there to stick those two edges to each other, rather than sort of wrapping lots and lots of tape around it. Just sort of, the less tape you use, the better your paper toy will look, I suppose, at the end. But there's the last bit of tape we should need for our paw feet, and they're going to stick to the bottom here. So you can see sort of like the Box Heads Papercrafts logo there. We're going to stick those feet to the bottom of our bear, so that Box Head Papercrafts logo is kind of covered. Now we're going to stick a bit to the back of the paw there, and then the other half of that is going to stick to the back or the bottom of the bear. And now we've created a little hinge there, as you can see, that sort of like bends all the way over, and if we stick another bit on the inside there, that'll make it a bit more secure, so that bear's paw can bend all the way around, and you can sort of make him look like he's walking across the snow. And you can, if you weren't quite sure, we can do it again with this one, and line it up so the edge of the foot lines up with the edge of the body and the edge of the back there. They should fit nice and neatly onto that base bit there. You can see sort of the Box Head Papercraft sign. If I'm going to, like I say, if I'm going too fast, then pause it, and no pun intended, pause the video and take your time to line things up. But we're moving on to the arms now, and sticking the arms where that blue area is for the head. Now, sort of like the thumb is very important. That's got to sort of be sticking out of the front like so. And very similar to the way that we stuck the feet to the bear's body, put a bit of tape, half the tape on there, on the arm, and the other half of the tape will line it up and stick and press it down to the bear's body. Then we'll lift up his arm and we'll stick another bit of tape in the bear's armpit, like so. So we get that nice hinge, so the arm sort of moves at the bear's shoulder, I guess you'd say. Then we'll do the exact same thing on this side, and you can bend that over and sort of like make sure that the arms are lined up pretty much the same. And again, we need a bit of tape. We'll put a bit of tape on the bear's armpit, so that we'll get a nice sort of like safe, secure shoulder joint so the bear's arm can move up and down safely. So we can see there, I'm just showing you sort of, we made sure that the thumbs are facing the front, and that's our body almost done. We don't want to forget the bear's tail. So this is similar to the ears. We just need a little bit of tape sort of at the bottom of the tail just to wrap round and make sure that sort of we've got a front and a back to the tail. And then we're going to stick it. There's no particular place that you need to stick it, just down towards the bottom, down near the feet. So I've got another little bit of tape that's stuck to the tail, and then the other little bit can stick down there. Just line it up. Take your time to line it up to the back there, and then you'll see there's that tab underneath that'll help you stick it to the bear's bottom a little bit more. So you can see it's sort of pretty much in the middle, down the bottom, and now our bear's tail sticks out a little bit. We'll save the ears until later. We'll do the bear's head first, and it's the exact same sort of outline and pattern as the body. So again, take your time with sticking this together. Starting off at the top of the bear's head there, and doing each side at a time, coming round to the sticking the back of the bear's head to the side of the head. Just making sure our edges are lined up. Lining that edge up to the dotted line that you can still see there. Lining it up. Oops, oops. Careful, gentle. See, even as experienced paper crafters get things stuck where they're not supposed to at times, but just take your time to sort of peel any sticky bits off. And then we're getting towards the end of sticking the head together. It's lining up the bottom of his head, his chin, his jaw, his mouth area there. Sticking a nice bit of tape and then folding it onto his mouth there, and then coming back to these bits round his jawline, sort of pushing those and tucking those in. Be gentle with it. You don't want to push too hard, and it's sort of the bear's jaw goes into the middle, because it's quite tricky to pull that out. Just take your time and gently sort of push those bits in. Just line those edges up and fold the tape around so it holds those bits together. And my last bit of tape for the bear's head, and he's all nicely stuck together. And then we've got our ears. So you can stick them wherever you want on the bear's head. I like to sort of like stick them around the back, and then they can let's stick it together first. Then you can see how they fold out. Suppose you could stick the bear's ears to the top of his head, or more around the front, but it makes better sense to stick them around the back like this, I think. And then when you've stuck it down like that, you can bend the ears around like that as much or as little as you want. So you can see them when you're looking at the bear from the front on. This way we're creating another hinge with the tape, where sort of similar to the arms, so that they can bend round a little bit. And sticking that tab to the back of the bear's head, so we get those ears around the front. And then, my goodness, we're nearly done. We just need to stick the bear's head to his body. So I'm getting a slightly longer bit of tape here, because what I'm going to do is, it's tricky to see, but I'm going to make a loop of tape. So we get the sticky side all the way around the outside. I'm making sort of like a ring of tape. So all the sticky stuff is on the outside, so we can stick that down there, and then we've got a sticky bit to put the head on and attach the head to the body like so. And well, there we go. He's all finished. Look at him. He's got his arms and his ears and his feet paws and his arm paws and his ears all together. Happy crafting, boxheaders. Go to www.boxheadpapercrafts.com to download, print and craft your own bears, and there's dogs and there's cats and there's monkeys and many more characters.